real estate board, licensed real estate agent serving Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. And welcome to Real Estate with Soul. On this podcast, we speak with dope people making moves in the real estate industry. And today we have Jay Hill from Four Hills Junk Removal. Welcome to the podcast, Jay.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you for having me, man.
No problem, man. No problem. So let's jump into this, man. Want to hear about your backstory, man. What you were doing before your junk removal business and what led you into jumping into the junk removal business, man, turning cash into dollars or turning trash into dollars.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm from Philly, born and raised in Philly, and then from there I went on to Temple University, where I actually met my wife. We met back in 2002. Graduated Temple 2006, and then from there I started working for the Philadelphia Soul, which is an indoor football team. So my degree was in sport and recreation management. And so I kind of segued into sports, but specifically selling season tickets. So I worked in sales. And then from there, over the past 16 years, I worked for a couple of different companies, Xerox, and Rico, copier companies, did that for 8 years. And then my latest stint was working with Avis, the car rental company, where I worked in corporate sales. So selling um, car rental packages to large corporations like GlaxoSmithKline, Johnson and Johnson, you name it. So I did that for 7 years. So in total, I worked in corporate sales for 16 years. During that time, I purchased real estate. So I'm a landlord, and I did a couple of flips. And so to answer your question, I'm going to give you some background first to kind of segue into why I got into the junk removal business. So when I was purchasing property and doing flips, I always had to use a junk removal service. And to be honest with you, I was like shocked as to how much it cost to remove the junk. So mind you, I was demoing the whole house, so I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on demoing the home and removing the trash. So it kind of intrigued me. And then throughout the years, I still utilize junk removal services. Like if I had a tenant move out, and then when I had my first daughter 7 years ago, I had like an overwhelming feeling that I just like needed more money, and I needed an additional source of income because it was
Right.
my first child. So a good buddy of mine, my best friend Ernest Key, who's also a realtor.
Right. I
Um,
know Ernest.
you know Ernest?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was over my house, and we were just kind of like brainstorming ideas. Um, and we always wanted to go into business together. So yeah, we started with junk removal, and this was back in 2006, I want to say. And we really didn't know anything about junk removal. We were like kind of watching
Mhm.
YouTube videos and talking to other people, and we know other contractors and developers. So we thought that we had a good book of business to hit the ground running, and that's what we did. We bought a truck, and the first day we bought the truck, we had like two jobs, and we just ran.
Wow.
And we linked up with Greg Parker, aka Big Business,
Mhm.
on Instagram,
Right.
and we just were rolling. We were probably doing like two or three jobs per day with him. Mind
Wow.
you, at the time, I was still working full time in corporate, and at the time, Ernest had just became an agent, so it was crazy. So we were doing our 9 to 5s, and then after we got off our 9 to 5s, we would hop on a truck and do two or three loads, and on the weekends, that's all we did. Make a long story short, the engine on the truck died after like a good 2.5 year run. At that time, my wife, she wasn't working, and we just in earnest wanted to kind of dive into like take real estate. I want to say take it serious, but do it full time. So we decided
Mhm.
to walk away. We sold the truck. I refocused on corporate, did my thing. Ernest locked in on real estate. And then fast forward to last year, I quit my job in corporate at Avis. And my wife, by this time, she had gotten settled in her career. So I felt comfortable with walking away from my corporate job and jumping back
Okay.
into junk removal. So here I am. I think I want to say I quit my job March of last year. So
Mhm.
yeah, this is March now. So I'm a year back in full time now.
Gotcha. Now, when you're first starting out, you said that you guys kind of jumped into it. You guys had 2 or 3 loads that first day. Um, I know somebody who was trying to start a junk removal business. How did you come up with the price when you first jumped into it? You just got the truck and now you're doing loads.
Yeah, so YouTube University,
Okay.
you know what I mean, and just googling, just like doing research on other junk removal companies um, across the country, and then just kind of figuring out the price point from there, and then also talking to contractors who had been using junk removal services in the past to just kind of get a baseline as to what they were paying, and
Hmm.
then figuring out how much is the monthly note on the truck, how much is insurance, how much are we paying our guys, how much is it going to be to dump, how much is it to dump the load, and then from there just kind of figuring out what a good price point was that was palatable to the customer, and it also made sense for us.
Okay. No, that definitely makes sense. Now, take us through the life cycle of junk. So when I'm calling you, I'm like, "Hey Jay, I need this stuff out." Okay. What's the life cycle of that junk? You get it, you driving around with it, where does it go?
Good question. So it all depends on the size of the load, right? So, you know, I take on all jobs. So sometimes, there could be an elderly person who to them, they have a lot of junk in their home. And it could be, just for an example, it could be an end table that they always wanted to get rid of, and maybe 2 or 3 contractor bags in the basement, you know? So I'll go and I'll pick up that load, and that load may stay on the truck for a couple of days or a week. So I may have a 2 3 day stretch where I'm doing smaller jobs like that, and then it ends up being a full load after a couple of days. And then sometimes I'm doing multiple loads and multiple dumps in a day. There's ebbs and flows in the business. So as you know, you're an entrepreneur. So sometimes you're super duper busy, and then sometimes you're not. So it varies. To answer your question, it varies the life cycle of how long the junk actually stays on the trunk. Sometimes it goes on and goes off immediately, and sometimes it stays on for a couple of days, depending on how busy we are.
Gotcha. Now, where's the junk going? Is it going to a junkyard? As far and I'm just asking as somebody who is clueless about it. Does it go to a junkyard? Do you have to pay for that to throw it there, or where does it go?
Absolutely. So we always take our junk to junkyards. There's some guys who don't sometimes. I mean, Philly is crazy with the amount of trash that you see just like all over the place. Big piles of trash down in North Philly and other parts of the city. So it really
Yes.
gives us a bad name, and it's really an eyesore. But at Fort Hills, we always take our loads to a reputable dump. So 9 times out of 10, I'm probably at Burns, which is on
Okay.
Rising Sun Avenue, and they charge per how heavy the trash is. So
Okay.
you get up to 2,000 pounds worth of debris. So 2,000 pounds of debris equals $120,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So that's another way I gotta have a pretty good gauge on how much or how heavy items are going to weigh. So like 50 contractor bags that weigh like 30, 40 pounds, that's 2,000 pounds. I get 2 or 3 couches, an old refrigerator, some end tables, a dining room table, and 2 or 3 mattresses in a box spring. That's probably 2,000 pounds. So that's another way I can gauge how much to actually charge the customer as well.
Okay. And does it have to be bagged up neatly, or can it be just a free for all and you just dumping all the trash somewhere?
So yeah, I mean, it depends on who the customer is, right? So I work with a numerous contractors, and sometimes the contractors are like super tidy and neat, and they'll have everything stacked in the pile within contractor bags. So they'll separate, the contractor bags from the wood, and it'll be nice and neat in the backyard or in a certain room in a home. So that makes it easy for me. Some contractors aren't as tidy, and there could be debris scattered all around the house.
Mm,
And then sometimes if I do a house clean out for a homeowner who's not a contractor, They may have their items already out on the front curb, or night or neat or neatly in their garage or in the driveway, and then sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's items scattered all around the house. So obviously, it makes my job and our guys. It's easier for us if everything is nice and neat, but it's not always that way.
Okay. Gotcha, gotcha. So what type of items do you actually remove? Is it just lottie dottie everybody, anything, or are there certain things you won't take?
Good question. So the only things that I cannot take, and that's according to the dump where the trash goes. No hazardous materials.
Mhm.
So like fire extinguishers, oxygen tanks, um, no wet paint. Can't take wet paint. No tires. Um, so anything like that can, if you toss it off of the truck and it hits the ground and can potentially explode, can't
Mhm.
take it to the dump. Like paint
Okay.
thinner, wet paint. Um, yeah. So hazardous materials and tires. We don't take everything else. We do take so appliances, furniture, clothes, uh, kitchenware, you name it.
Gotcha. Now, being a realtor, when I deal with individuals and just say that somebody passes, a lot of times people's first reaction is to donate the items. So somebody wants to donate the item because they just don't want to trash it. I guess with your service, would that be a kind of two in one where you would come get it, donate the items that they want, and then trash the rest of the stuff? Or is it like, all right, I'm just gonna take it all and I'm just I'm just gonna dump it all?
Yeah, you know what? Some it depends on the situation. Usually I do come across that a lot, and then typically it's like not that many things that they want to be donated. But typically, to be honest with you, most times before people contact me, they've already either given away certain items to family members and or donated some items before I even come in. But if they have some residual things that like so for example, people don't like to throw away books.
Mm,
People really like hate to throw away books, and I get it. I don't like to throw away books either. So
right,
I'll get the books, and in the neighborhood, sometimes you see like those stanchions, like the free library. Like I'll put
right.
them in there, or I'll take them to the library.
Okay.
Um, but it depends on like how large the donation pile is, because then that can end up being double work for me. And then I don't want to necessarily charge the customer a ton of money if they're trying to do a good deed and donate certain items. So
Right now, do you have, I guess, donation partners like the Purple Heart or that you may call first and be like, hey, these people want to donate the person's clothes?
no, I don't. And
Okay.
I'm actually going to take note of that. And I never thought about partnering with those types of organizations, but it's a good one right there.
Right. So they can go in there. Maybe a person can kind of bag up what they want to donate, have them come and get it, and it'll make it your life a little bit easier as far as the stuff that you have to take out. Um, Now, do you also provide cleanup services after? Because there's a difference between cleanup and demo, correct?
Correct. There's a big difference between cleanup and demo. So um, typically when you're demoing, the cleanup is a part of the process because you can't
Mhm.
leave the job site dirty. You always have to make sure that the job site is ready for the next tradesman to come in behind you. So if my team is demoing walls and there's drywall everywhere and lath and tile, that space that we're demoing before we leave has to be absolutely spotless. So when you're doing a demo job and or even cleaning up construction debris, it, you're removing the item, but you're also not doing a super duper like deep clean, but
Right.
the space needs to be clear and clean because what I do know about other tradesmen, they don't like to touch trash and they don't like things in their way. And on top of that, too, it's our job to ensure that the job site is safe. So there can't be miscellaneous debris lying around and having tripping hazard. So, and I'm kind of like a neat freak, and I'm pretty tidy person myself. So I could never just leave a a job site dirty, and I'm in the business myself. So
Right.
I have my own projects. So I treat people's space the same way that I would want somebody to treat my space.
Okay. And you have, I guess, do the same guys do the demo that do the cleanup, or do you bring in a separate crew for the demo and for the cleanup?
Yeah, I have a couple of different crews. Like I have like a I have an A crew and a B crew and then a C crew.
Okay.
It depends on what's needed. But all of my guys, I mean, my primary business is junk removal, so um,
Okay.
they all pick up trash for sure. But I do have specific crews depending on what's needed. Some of my guys are handy. Like sometimes, some of my guys don't know how to use tools.
Right.
So
They just picking stuff up.
yeah, sometimes we have to disassemble appliances, like especially in these smaller row homes. Like if
Hmm.
the debris is in the basement, 9 times out of 10 in a smaller row home, the basement is in the back where the kitchen is, and sometimes they have an oversized refrigerator. You have to
Hmm.
move the refrigerator out of the way. Sometimes you have to take off doors of refrigerators to get them through doorways.
Right.
So yeah, I had different crews depending on what's needed for the job.
Okay. So if I have a demo, I guess how long do you guys usually take? Does it depend on the size of the home?
It does. It does. We just did for an example, we just did a kitchen demo a couple of weeks ago, and we got it done in 2 hours.
Okay.
Next week we have that was a pretty small kitchen, like a small row house kitchen. Next week we have a larger kitchen demo in Montgomery County, and the kitchen is probably, I don't know, 20 by 15. And there's ceramic tile that's on the floor that needs to be ripped up, and then a wet bed under that. So that job's probably going to carry over a day and a half, maybe 2 days, if that ceramic tile gives us issues. But yeah, sometimes it can be quick, and sometimes
Hmm.
it's a little bit more labor involved. Um,
Gotcha. Now, if somebody wants to get into the business, I guess what's the best route? Is the best route to go on YouTube and just start looking at videos? But now that you're a business owner, you've been in the business for a while, what's the best route if somebody does want to get into this business?
you know, um, th- you, that's a good question. My answer to that is sometimes you don't know something until you're actually in it.
Mm,
So this business is just like any business. There's good days and there's bad days. Um, so it's hard to say like if you really want to do something if you haven't really done it yet. You know,
right.
and there's a lot of overhead involved with getting into the business. You have to have a vehicle, um, and paying for insurance could be pricey. So
Hmm.
you have to really without it's hard to know, like I said, that you want to do something before you actually get into it. But
Right.
you have to be dedicated to it, and you have to be okay with good days and bad days. You have to be okay with making mistakes. You have to be okay with damaging people's property sometimes, and but having the proper insurance to cover that. You have to be okay with undercharging for certain jobs because you didn't anticipate the load being as heavy as it is, or
Mm,
you know how it is in business. Like all business is not the same, but in the macro, they're all the same, where they have ebbs and flows and good days and bad days. So if you do decide to get into it, go hard. Make sure that you're networking and partnering. Like I come from corporate sales, so in my it was always my job to network with people and like host
mhm,
events. Um, and host cocktail hours and stuff like that. So I take all that knowledge that I had from working in the corporate world and just trying to incorporate it into my business now. And I understand that people like you, realtors, you guys are the keys to the castle for me.
mm, mhm,
Because you're in homes every day, sometimes multiple
right.
homes per day. you know
Right.
so um it's important for me to partner with people like you, in order to make sure that my business, is sustainable and lasts long. And I have multiple. I want to partner with multiple people, multiple realtors. I need to partner with contractors and developers,
Hmm.
and so just trying to everyone who's related to real estate.
Right.
They need to know about Fort Hills.
Right, right. Facts. Facts. Now, I know being a realtor, like you said, going in multiple homes each and every day, and dealing with the public, we got some crazy stories. I mean, I keep telling myself that I'm gonna write a book because I'll see that realtor that I had the crazy story, and maybe it's fuzzy as far as what the story is, but like, man, I'm gonna start writing this stuff down. But can you give us a crazy story as far as dealing with junk removal, man? You got to see a lot of crazy stuff.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've been in homes where there was active, like not mice, but active rats in the home. We've had jobs where there's been active squirrels in the home. We've done hoarder jobs, so just you can imagine the things that could be in a hoarder home. One specifically, a really sad story. This guy was a real estate developer and accumulated 10, 15 properties here in the city. But then he caught dementia and kind of like lost his way. Um,
Mm,
but he was an avid gun and a knife collector. So when he passed, I was working with his brother, and his brother knew that his brother who just passed was an avid gun collector and collect knives. So he was like, "Hey, listen, man, like you couldn't even get inside the house. Like you couldn't even open the front door. Like we had to climb over a pile of junk just to even get into the front door of the home." So he had no idea what was in that house. So he said,
mm,
"Listen, before my brother got sick, we tried to go into the house and collect all of his firearms and his knives just for his safety, but I know for sure that we didn't get all of them. So when
right.
you're cleaning out this house, just be mindful and be careful. And if you do find any, just set them aside for me." And we did for sure.
So how many guns did y'all find?
Just a couple, like a little small 22 and a small 25, but like
Okay.
all types of swords, like machetes and pocket knives, and probably, I don't know, like two guns, but like maybe 55 knives just scattered all around the
Wow.
house. Yeah.
Wow. What about I remember about maybe like 2 years ago, there was some type of there was this video that went viral where this house had a bunch of booby traps and a guy was kind of going up the stairs and something came from the stairs and almost do you guys ever encounter something like that? Houses that are booby trapped?
No,
Okay.
no, 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 you got me. No, no, that would be crazy.
Right, right. Where you're trying to step in there and it's like, hey, what is going on in the house? Because that I guess he was preparing for something. And he just had the house booby trapped. And the realtor, I don't know if it was a realtor or an investor, but they kind of did something where the guy didn't walk upstairs, but he had a stick or something as if he was walking up there. And he pressed on wherever you needed to press on, and something came down. And if he was as if he was walking up there, that thing would have hit him right in the face.
Crazy, like on
And
some Home Alone type stuff.
right, right, exactly, exactly. And I was just like, wow, like this is crazy.
That's crazy. Oh, so one crazy story. So, did a house clean out, for a quadruplex last summer, and that was a crazy one. It seemed like each of the units were like frozen in time from like the 70s and the 80s. Like the tenants that were living in there just like left, and then like left all their stuff, and then the home had just been empty for maybe 20, 30, 40 years. And so one of the units had a crazy bar in it and like all these liquor bottles, right? Some of them unopened, some of them open. And there was this one bottle that looked like an unassuming bottle, but it was not open. So I was like, all right, I'll take it home and I'll hold on to it. And I held on to it for a couple of weeks, didn't crack it. And then I finally cracked it, opened it. I was like, oh, this is nice, super strong, but it was like, it's nice. So I'm talking to my dad on the phone, and my dad is super into a liquor. So he was like, I said, Dad, you ever heard of I think it's called Granddaddy. Granddaddy. I said, Dad, you ever heard of Granddaddy? He was like, Yeah, I heard of Granddaddy. Did you crack it open? I said, Yeah, I cracked it open. He said, Son, you shouldn't have cracked it open. That bottle's expensive. I said, What? So I'll go to Google in the bottle, and the bottle is $1,000, man. Like, I'm like, I was sick. I cracked that bottle. Like, instead of here drinking $1,000 liquor and didn't even know it.
Wow, and actually that would be my next question as far as what's the most expensive thing that you ever saw that somebody just left?
I did a hoarder house a couple of weeks ago, and I found like 6 generators in the house. You know
Mm,
how expensive generators are, right?
right,
Uh,
right,
that was also the house that had the guns and the knives,
okay.
um, a cement mixer.
Oh, wow.
Things cost like $1,500. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, right.
um, but yeah. So I'm still waiting to find like the secret money stash in one of these houses, or a rollie or something like that. I'm just waiting.
Right, or like treasure. Somebody has a treasure
Some
just there.
gold or something, man. Like,
That's too funny. Now, as far as behind the scenes, because there's one thing as entrepreneurs to have, you have your guys that you work with, but I guess behind the scenes, what have you done as far as accountants, lawyers, and things like that?
yeah, I mean, we have an accountant just because outside of my junk removal business, like we own properties and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So we have an accountant. So that's already in play. A lawyer, mm, scare me, man.
Right, right, right. Well, that's a good thing that you haven't needed one up until this point.
Yeah, no, no, I haven't needed one.
Okay.
No, haven't
How
needed.
about how would now you said as far as insurance claims, I guess messing somebody's house up or making a mistake. Why don't you tell us about one of those episodes as far as what happened and then I guess what the result was?
Yeah, so I probably back 7 years ago, probably me and Ernest's second or third job that we did. I'm not going to name the person that we're doing the job for, but
Right.
we were inexperienced at that time, didn't know, and we super duper duper underbid for the job. And I honestly think that the person knew that we underbid and was just kind of like taking advantage, which kind
Mm,
of left a bad taste in my mouth. But it is what it is because that's how you learn. Anyway, make a long story short, there was a whole bunch of junk um, on the second floor, like heavy, heavy, heavy stuff. So we pulled out one of the windows on the second floor, right, and then we're throwing the junk into the back of the truck from there, and then trying to put the window back end up breaking the window. So
mhm,
we just end up cashing a guy out, just giving him $200 for the window. It was really like a $100 like gel win standard row house window that cost $100.
okay.
He was being a little petty and said that the window cost $200. So, but we didn't want any smoke, so we just cashed him out $200 and kept him moving. Um,
Okay, so you
yeah,
didn't have
that's
to involve the insurance or anything. You just
no,
did it
not
hand to hand.
necessary, not necessary. I rather take a hit and reduce our profit margin and or not make any money at all
Right.
versus contacting the folks. So
Right, right. Now, if you can you touch on marketing? I guess what type of marketing are you doing? Because as a business owner, I mean that's kind of the lifeblood. And you had mentioned as far as networking with realtors. Or is there any other networking? Not networking. Is there any other marketing that you're doing? Maybe some social media things or
yeah, so heavy on social media, heavy on Instagram. Try to post, if not every day, every other day on Instagram. Um, Trying to create reels. Reels seem to be gaining a lot of traction, and trying to put my face on the camera as much as
Mhm,
possible. Like if you have an Instagram business page, like you get those insights and those analytics in regards to
mhm,
how well the video does, and that's something that I'm super interested in coming from sales and marketing. So
right.
just trying to figure out like the right type of the content that hits hardest, and then also kind of tells the story and kind of gives people that are looking on the other end like a good insight into my personality, into how I run the business. So yeah, heavy on Instagram, heavy on Facebook. I don't know who told me about the Next Door app, but that is a nice little gem right there. Getting on the Next Door app. Also
Mhm.
LinkedIn, um, and then just old school guerrilla marketing and word of mouth. I get
Right.
a lot of business from referrals. So if you do a really really good job for somebody, they're going to tell five other people about you.
Mhm.
So probably 70% of the business comes from referrals, and the other 30% come from socials and or Google.
Gotcha. What do you think about apps like Thumbtack? Have you ever heard of Thumbtack?
I have, but I didn't dive into it.
Okay. Yeah, Thumbtack sometimes I use when I need like a handyman or it's kind of like a one-off deal. But it's like freelancers for contractors. Freelancing for contractors. So you can go in there, it's thumbtack.com.
Okay.
Thumbtack or Thumbnail, I think it's Thumbtack. But you go in there, and for example, if I need junk removal, I'll put junk removal in there, and they'll contact you. But I think it's almost like I meant to say it's almost like a Uber type deal for contractors. And I gotta suspect that they probably charge you some type of fee, but that's something you may want
Yeah,
to look into also.
I will. I will. There was another one that I was looking into when I first got back into it last year. Angie, which used to be Angie List, is now called
Right,
Angie's Leads. It sounds like a
right,
pretty similar service, where
right,
they send you a list of jobs um, that need to be completed within the air, like within a radius that you specify, and then they get a percentage of
right.
percentage of
This one, I think the difference between this one is that Angie's List is a website. This is just an app. Um, so a person just only has access to it through a app, and
Gotcha.
then it spreads it out. So you may want to look into that
I
just as
will.
another revenue source.
Absolutely.
So definitely get that. All right, man. I guess what if you were, I mean, just speaking to everybody, why don't you tell them as far as the services that you provide, just in case I missed something?
Yep. So the services that we provide are junk removal services. So whether that be um, furniture that a standard homeowner has in their home, um,
Mhm.
items that they have in their garage that they haven't seen in years, they finally want to get around to tackling that basement.
All right.
That they've been storing stuff in for 10, 15 years, or they finally want to refinish a space, and or for the contractors. Um, we even do junk removal for guys who specialize in demo, but
Okay.
they don't want to haul away the trash. Like it seems like nobody likes to touch the trash, man. Like so they'll go in and they'll demo the house and they'll bag it up and they're like, well, we're not taking that trash out of here. So um, anyone who needs anything removed from a home, whether it be a
Mhm.
residential or a commercial space that's not hazardous material, we can remove that. We can remove whatever it is from the home.
Gotcha. And tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at jhill215. You can find me on Facebook, Jared Hill. You can find me on LinkedIn, Jared Hill. You can find me on the Next Door at Jared Hill. You can find me on Google at Four Hill Junk Removal. Um, yeah, so those are the ways that you
Gotcha.
can find
Got
me.
Right. Awesome, man. Well, listen, if y'all have any junk removal needs, you make sure you hit J Hill up. We're trying to recycle these dollars as much as we can.
Absolutely,
And and for any reason, if you can't get to him, and you can get to me, just reach out and I'll reach out to him, man. So you got a phone number?
I do. I do. My phone number is 215-446-8039. Again, 215-446-8039. Khalid, I appreciate you, brother. You are right. The dollar circulates one time in our community, just one time, man. That's it's really really sad. I just did a job the other day for someone, and we were kind of talking about that and ways that we can um, increase that number to like two, three, four, five times. Like, but yeah, and what you're doing right here is a platform that allows for that. So I appreciate you for that. And we need to do that more often. We need more people like you. So I appreciate you, brother. I really do.
No problem, man. Yeah, no, we definitely got to circulate this dollar, man, because it really makes no sense, and it's just a mindset.
That's all it is.
It's it's just a mindset,
That's all.
and it's like, yeah, we need to, um, as business owners, and I always tell brothers and sisters this, as business owners, we got to up our game. Um, that's the first thing, and but then after that, we got to actively seek out us, so we can circulate and spend our money with us because other people do it. So it's not that it's shame doing because other people do it. It's
For
just we
sure.
don't do it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But you, I mean, you brought up a good point though, man. You brought up a really, really, really good point. And the customer service and the value has to be there too. It really does. And specifically, we get a bad name for that. Our people get a bad name for that in general. And then also too, like in the contractor space, like I'm in under the contractor umbrella, we really get a bad name, whether it be white, black, or Asian. Contractors have a
Mm,
we're
right.
notoriously known for horrible customer service, man. Horrible,
Yes.
horrible. And
Yes.
I just kind of want to erase some of those known those I don't want to call it because they're true. They're not stereotypes. My company's not like that, man. So I
Right.
understand um, that our people have a bad name for that, and also contractors. So I kind of want to erase that and provide excellent customer service. So far on Google, I think I have 26 reviews on Google, and they all been five
Nice.
stars, all five
Nice.
stars, and everyone raves about my customer service. So one guy said that I'm the Chick-fil-A of junk removal.
Now, do you just serve Philadelphia?
Yeah, so Philadelphia, Montgomery, and Delaware County. Bucks is kind of far, but probably 70% of the jobs in Philadelphia, Montgomery, and Delaware County.
All right, man. Well, thanks for joining us, man. This is Khalid Nathan Aleem with Real Estate with Soul. You can reach us here at 9 o'clock on Friday every week. And if you know somebody that should be on this, you can DM me wherever you're finding this at. So, as I said, we can get more exposure to brothers and sisters in the real estate industry so we can circulate the dollars. This is Khalid Nathan Aleem, the real estate boy. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate, I got you. All right, y'all. Till the next time.